just quickly take you through it. We'll start with today, the 28th of July. As we are aware, there's at least 2 committees that will be meeting this morning, and this afternoon we've got the virtual plenary taking place, which will be 2 debates on the adjustments budgets on both the Employment and Labour Department and also small business and small business development. Then Wednesday the 29th in the morning at 8:30 we will have the Provincial Whips Forum that will be meeting, and in the afternoon at 3 o'clock there will be a higher level stakeholder engagement on femicide legislation. Just to note that there's one select committee that will be meeting at 12 o'clock. Then on the 30th of July, on Thursday at 8:30, the Program Committee will be meeting, and that will be followed by caucus, and in the afternoon we'll also have a Women's Charter Review session in the Free State. That session, of course, will be taking place virtually. Then to end of the week on Friday the 31st at 10 o'clock, we'll have a virtual plenary again with a debate on the adjustments appropriation bill, and then finally next week on Tuesday the 4th, the consideration of the adjustments appropriation bill. Just to indicate, at the bottom of the screen you'll notice that the NCOP constituency period will start on the 5th until the 28th of August, and the NA will be on the constituency period from the 3rd to the 17th. Also to note that the Women's Parliament will be taking place from the 5th to the 7th of August. That in short is the second term program. Chair, if you will allow me to continue to the third term, or do you want me to stop here?
I think maybe let's afford colleagues an opportunity to comment on the second term, as is what is left before members go on constituency, before we then get into the third term. Colleagues, are there any comments, questions on the second term?
Nothing
None.
to Gauteng.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moeti. Maybe let's proceed to the third term, Mr. Michaels.
Thank you, Chair. Projected on the screen, the draft third term program, just to indicate that there's a few changes or proposed amendments that have been made to the program since the last that was distributed yesterday afternoon. So just to take you through it, we will officially start the third term in that week of the 24th of August, and in particular on the 25th of August we have a ministerial briefing on agriculture related to COVID-19. That will be followed on the 26th of August with the Women's Charter Review session, which will be a high-level session in the Free State. On the 28th of August will be Women's Parliament, particularly related to cluster-based report session. The week thereafter, the 1st of September in particular, another ministerial review session on COVID-19, followed on the 2nd of September by another women's review session in Limpopo, a proposed virtual plenary on the 3rd of September, and on the 4th of September, Youth Parliament and interactive session with the executive. That will be a follow-up session from the Youth Parliament that we had previously during June. The week starting on the 7th of September, in particular on the 8th, the 9th and the 10th, we will have the local government week, which will be an interactive session with provinces and municipalities. Just to note, on the 10th, there will be debate on these local government issues. On the 11th of September, we have another review, a women's review session in Limpopo. The week starting on the 14th of September, in particular the 15th, will be a virtual plenary with items to be populated there. A Heritage Day lecture will be taking place on the 16th of September and the 17th of September. Another virtual plenary with a particular item highlighted in red to debate Heritage Day. On the 18th of September, another women's review session taking place in Limpopo. During the week of 21 to 25 September, on the 22nd of September in particular, will be a virtual plenary, questions to the Deputy President. And on the 23rd, a women's review session in Northwest Province. On the 26th of September, we have another women's review session in Northwest again. And then the last week of the third term will be on the 29th of September, in particular, questions to the Deputy President with constituency period starting on the 30th of September until the 9th of October, and the National Assembly constituency period starting on the 7th of September and ending on the 5th of October. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Michael, except that the last, I think, item there reflect questions to the President instead of the Deputy President on the 29th. Yeah.
Great.
Colleagues, I think that's the program for the second term. Are there any comments, questions? More in particular, if we can also hear from colleagues from committees, because I noticed that committee activities are really not reflected on that third room as to when are their programs finalized in order for them to be incorporated in that program, because I think this is what normally assist members for them to see how their committee activities are being lined up vis-a-vis house activities.
Yeah, Advocate, how are you? It's Mabaso here.
Who's that?
Mabaso from the office.
Oh, yes, Mr. Mabaso. Over to you, sir.
Okay, I will start with the question that you have just posed before proceeding to other matters that are of concern to the office.
Do you mind just to also raise the voice of your PC?
Let me see. Okay, volume here. Okay, I'm saying I will start with the questions such as we have posed before proceeding to other matters. Am I audible now, Advocate?
Yes, now I can hear you. I hope other colleagues as well, they can hear you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, insofar as populating the program is concerned, we could not basically proceed to do that because we're waiting for the framework to be adopted or to be made available. And you would realize that even after the framework that one received last night, there are changes as well. And if one were to then circulate the one that I had problems. But soon after this meeting, we would try to communicate with committees to make sure that they are able to submit their programs for approval by the House Chairperson. Whether or not they would be ready for Thursday, then ask that committees really try to assist us in that regard. That would be the first one. The second one, Advocate, I have gone through the admitted, and I have a few comments here that there's little really in the way of time for committees to work with. I may have missed a few things on the new iterations in terms of the dates. I had my colleagues saying that we have brought forward, the framework to the 24th of August. Whether that would help us, I'm not sure. But I wanted to refer specifically to the first. On the 1st of September, there's a ministerial briefing which starts at 10 until 2, followed on the 2nd and the 3rd by the NCOP joint planning, both of which would start at 9 until 2. And you realize that there's nothing for committees to do. There would be nothing for committees to do in the morning until at least 2 o'clock. And I wanted to make sure that I'm reading this correctly to say that committees can only meet after 2, so that we are able to, offer that guidance to committees. That is the first part or the second part. The third and last part from me, advocate, would be insofar as the plenaries, especially those that start at 10, if we can at least have an indication in terms of when this would meet. I know sometimes it's not easy, so that we ring fence, these slots, and then to say to committees, if plenaries start at 10, then you would be able perhaps to start your businesses at 12 or 1, as the matter may be there. Those would be the few things. But generally speaking, I realize that there's little in the way of time for committees to work with within the term that we are going to, the third term especially. I thank you, Advocate.
Okay, thank you, Mr. I think your points are valid, and I'm going to request Mr. Michaels probably might just, and in particular because of quite a number when it comes to plenaries, the Office of the Chief Whip is still probably going to come up with items that needs to be populated there. And those then will be the guiding factor as to how long some of those plenaries will last, but also some of the plenary activity is going to be influenced by what is before committees, because of it is those committee activities in terms of reports and the like that might still needs to come before the House. And once that as well, is clearly outlined, it becomes easy, because then we're able then to say, in as far as this report is concerned, it might, or the NCOP might have to consider it earlier, and therefore which plenary should then be identified to consider those reports. So it's kind of a double-sword edge in a sense that some of the activities from committees will inform the plenary time as well. But some, I think Mr. Mvulane will be able then to indicate if by now they do have an indication as to what items are planned for those plenary activities. Can I hear from Mr. Mvulane and Mr. Michaels?
Sorry, Advocate.
Who is speaking?
Tau from committees.
Oh, yeah, in fact, I'm sorry, I omitted you. We should have also first heard from you also. Yeah.
Yes, no, I think Mr. Mabaso covered me, but one other thing that I just want to bring to the table is the program as is will also have an impact on the joint meetings, because now if we say select committees will meet after plenaries, you may find that their PC counterparts might have already allocated meetings, but one other thing that I just want to find that they have already submitted their programs, and most programs takes place in the morning or during the day. So what I just want to do the table is if select committees will only have slots in the afternoon, that will have an impact on the planned
Okay, maybe let me ask this question then. When are we having that committee program? Because you see, when you've got all of this, we can then see which plenaries or activities planned are going to be impacted also by your plans. And it is out of that probably because of the task of this technical planning is precisely that, to be able then to advise, to say this committee activities is going to be impacted by this activity, either it be moved to this particular day and so forth, and which I think it will also enable you to engage with your chairpersons based on the information that you'll have brought and the one that is reflected on the program. Am I right?
Yeah, you are right, but I think Mr. Mabaso have already indicated that until we have a framework. Like now that we have this framework, we will be able to say to committees, look at how the proposed program will impact on your planned activities, especially the joint meetings. And then we will submit the proposal accordingly. Because from NA, we already have programs. We can now try to align the NCOP and NA committee programs so that where possible, we can have joint meetings, but where it's not possible, as it's the principle, we will allow committees to have separate meetings. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Mvulan.
Chair.
Oh, Secretary.
Yeah. Good morning. Briefly before I leave the meeting.
Morning.
The general proposition is that the sittings must take place in the morning and committees must sit in the afternoon, so that committees can have more time to deal with matters that are before them, instead of being constrained by the 2 o'clock time for the sitting. So on days where we'll be having sittings, the proposal is that we should have committee meetings in the afternoon, so that committees can then sit as long as they would wish to sit, as I indicated, without the constraints of attending the plenary in the afternoon. Secondly, insofar as the joint meetings are concerned, I think colleagues can indicate to us on which days there would be joint meetings and this and so on and so on. But remember that the joint meetings are not necessarily a permanent feature of the program. The joint meetings are for specific areas. I think we did that for the purposes of the budget. We did that for the purposes of briefings on matters relating to COVID-19 and so on and so on. So I think those are the things that we should take into consideration. Let us hear from committees. We have put the proposal on the table. Let us hear from committees how they intend planning the programs of committees, because we have to strike a balance and not one to yield to the other. So I think if we do get those proposals, we should be able to strike a balance between the two. But as I've indicated, the general proposition is that we must have meetings of committees in the afternoon and meetings of the House in the morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Secretary. At least I hope that I'll assist as well to.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. My apologies. I have to leave for another meeting.
Okay, Secretary. Thanks for that
Thank
input.
you.
Mr. Mabas, I hope that also responds to the points that you raised and Advocate Tau.
I do hope it does, Advocate, except that we still have to go further to indicate what we mean by morning sessions. I assume that plenary would start at 10, but extend until what time, so that when we guide committees, we're able to say to them, you can only start from this time, until cows come home.
Yeah, I heard Secretary saying that the idea is that committee activity will start in the afternoon, so that they can then have the whole of the afternoon. So I think currently what makes a little bit challenging is the fact that on the side of committees, we don't have anything specifically to, be able to say this committee activity will either be impacted by the activity that's already on the framework. So my view is that might be, let that exercise that you said you are going to engage run its course, so that at least there's something that then you'll be bringing forth, having taken into account the program, because in most things I know that it will be some specific days where really you'll be experiencing those challenges. Mr. Mvulan, you wanted to, or has the Secretary responded sufficiently on those issues?
He did, Advocate. He did. I agree with the sentiments that were expressed by the Secretary. particularly on the propositions. And I think we just needed to emphasize that so that we're on the same page. There's greater clarity in terms of the new approach that we're taking to have plenaries in the morning. I think he explained the propositions relating to that. But I think a point that I wanted to emphasize is the fact that this program works in the favor of committees. In fact, it's a matter of fact, because if in the previous term you only had 3 hours, you only had 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock to deal with committee matters. But if you look at the program as we propose it in future, if you have committee meetings that are meeting from 2 o'clock, in fact, there's a set time that plenary will probably end before 2 o'clock, which means that committees will start at 2 o'clock and go on for as much as they want. So it works in favor of committees. So if you use the previous formula, you only had 3 hours for committee work. And with the new formula, you have about 5 hours to actually do committee work. So it works in favor of committees. So that's the point that I want to just emphasize and just clarify. But also, I think the advocate spoke on the issue of joint committees, that the intention was not to have them as a permanent feature of the work of Parliament. It was merely specifically intended to deal with oversight on COVID matters. So I think we still maintain that principle that says, and I think if there's still areas where there's a need to deal with issues relating to COVID-19 oversight, but also deal with budget votes, which I think it's finalized. It will be finalized by next Tuesday. So I don't foresee us dealing with the issue of budget votes in the third term. So I don't think that would have as many joint committees as we currently do. So I just wanted to make those to emphasize those points so that we allay fears in terms of the impact of the third term program in the work of committees. In my view, it will work better, even much better, in fact, for the work of committees in terms of attendance, but also in terms of time and the content, the greater coverage of the content of committees. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Mr. Mvulane. Are there any further comments, questions?
See, if I might just also note that...
Mr. Michaels, yeah?
Yeah. Please note that on the program that was presented, there's only one plenary that starts at 10 o'clock, which is on the 15th of September. Just please note that all the other plenaries are scheduled to start at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Advocate Nonyane. Good morning, colleagues. I think let me start with the recent comment by Ntate Michaels. I think now it creates a bit of contradiction because the thinking is that plenaries must start in the morning, but when you look at the program, according to him, only one starts at 2 o'clock and so. So I don't know whether that can be corrected so that committees have that space to say they know that afternoon sessions are their time, and all other things, including plenaries, will be in the morning. But I have some few inquiries here just for us as we prepare to implement this program. I see we have ministerial briefing sessions on COVID-19 on the 1st of September and so on. Do we have an idea as to which portfolios or ministries will be affected so that we can prepare accordingly, also to alert the provinces, including SALGA, on the kind of participants that will be required for ministerial briefing, because we just say ministerial briefing session on COVID-19 on the 1st of September, and we proceed again throughout the third term, where we have ministerial briefing again on the 22nd of September. But we are not clear as to which portfolios will be really covered there. The last one that I need clarity on, Chairperson, is on Youth Parliament on the 17th of September. Is it a joint, or is it just for purposes of the NCOP, the Youth Parliament on the 17th of September? I'm asking this because once we say it's an interactive dialogue with the executive and so on, we need to make sure that they participate, and it also depends on the theme, whether there is a theme already, because when you look at it, it's 17 September, it's not very far from now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ntate Mlekwa. Maybe before the point that Mr. Michaels raised, Jeremy, I'm not sure the program that, because of the one that I'm looking at here, right? You'll correct me. Is 2 sittings on the 10th and the 17th that start at 14. There are further 3 sittings that start at 10. The sitting of the 15th, 23rd, and 29th, they start at 10. So when you say that there's only one, all of them, I'm not sure whether we're looking at the same. As you are the author of this, you should probably be, I'll take a cue from you, whether what is.
Can I just perhaps indicate or request Zama to speak to the plenaries and the times? As I've indicated at the start of this presentation, that there were a number of amendments that came through late last night, which I've attempted to present. So I think it's best if Zama speak to those changes. Thank you.
Oh, so, okay, before I allow him, so these changes are, okay. Okay, no, that now I get a point because of your statement earlier on. I think it's what kind of confused everyone. But what I'm looking at here is only 2 plenaries. Let's allow Mr. Mvulan then to talk to that. Mr. Mvulan, over to you.
Advocate, in fact, I thought I shouldn't call a point of order when Mr. Muleko was talking, because I think when Jeremy opened the meeting, firstly, he said there's been changes on the program that he presented. And I noticed that all the comments that Mr. Muleko made were based on the program that when we started, we said we are going to focus on the changes that were presented last night. So I think it would assist if we can look at the changes that we presented last night from the Chief Whip, because that's the program that we're taking to the whippery and we're taking to programming. So and I think just to emphasize, as you say, the proposal is that we bring forward the 3rd term to the week of the 25th of August instead of coming back on the 1st of September. And when we come back on the 1st of August, we start with the ministerial briefing session on interventions and progress made on measures to assist the agricultural sector to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's specified on the program that Jeremy presented, Mr. Moleko. It's there. And I think I need to emphasize that the intention is not to have sittings of the NCOP throughout the term on Wednesdays. So you would note that there are no sittings that are scheduled on Wednesdays. The exception is when we have sittings on Thursdays, there would be at 2 o'clock. That's the only exceptions. All our plenaries will be in the morning. In fact, that's the proposition that the advocate was talking about, that going forward, all our plenaries will be in the morning, with the exceptions of Thursdays, because we're limited on Thursdays. We only have the afternoon part because of party caucuses. So the first ministerial briefing will be on the 25th, which is in the morning. The second one will be on the 1st, which will deal with rural communities, the progress made on measures to assist rural communities to respond to COVID-19 pandemic. It's in the morning from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock, which means that committees will use 2 o'clock onwards to do their committee work. The proposed sittings that are scheduled on Thursday, they intended for, I think the first one was a request from committees to say that they have outstanding business to finalize committee reports and legislation, particularly from the Select Committee on Security, to present their security reports. So that's the intention of having the plenary of the 3rd of September to deal with all of those reports that are currently below the order paper and those that are currently being finalized by committees. Then we have the local government week. And on the 10th, it's the topic for that particular debate is is on the 10th of September is specified as a debate on the local government week, which would give expression to the 2 days of the local government week on the 8th and the 9th of September. And then the other plenaries, which are on the 15th of September, it's at 10 o'clock if you look at it. The next plenary, which is on Thursday, the topic is also specified, is to debate the Heritage Day. If you look just a day before that, on the 16th, the intention is to have a Heritage Day lecture. So that plenary of a Thursday will debate the Heritage Day outcome coming, all the outcome coming, the discussions coming from the Heritage Day lecture. The rest of the other plenaries, if you look at the questions to the Deputy President, previously the program that Mr. Muleko was referring to, it had questions to the DP, I think on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And that's Cabinet Day. And obviously the Deputy President will not be available on Wednesday. So the proposition is to have that meeting sitting on the 22nd in the morning and allow committees to continue. And I think, Advocate, just last thing to say, the third term is the shortest of the terms that we have this year. It only has 5 weeks. So there's nothing further that you can do other than what we have. We have the 25th of August until the 29th of September, and that's 5 weeks. It ends with the questions to the President on the 29th of September. It's a very short program. Thanks, Advocate.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mvulane. I take it that Mr. Mlekwa, also some of the concerns that you raised were responded to, but I think that principle of sitting starting at 10 o'clock is once more, and for the except 2, where probably I see there's caucus and the program committee meeting, which is the 10th and the 17th. So those will be the ones where in the sitting will be in the afternoon. The rest are in the morning, as indicated. Probably Mr. Michaels, in your program that you just beamed on the screen, you may once more have to look into the sitting of the 23rd to the DP, as Mr. Mvulane said, that because of the cabinet caucus needs to be moved to the 22nd. Am I right, Mr. Mvulane? So that at least that gets effected. So as then this will be the framework then to assist committees to then come with their program so that at least they can be populated here. The questions probably that we need now to, or the issue that we need to look at is, when are we likely to have those committee programs for them to be populated here? Is it likely to be before the actual program committee meeting, or you are not going to be able to meet that deadline? Because of this is what we are here for, to be able then to take a comprehensive program to the program committee meeting so that members then can see what is planned for the third program in terms of both committee activities and other businesses of the House.
If I may, Advocate Nonyane.
Yes, Mr. Mabas.
Yes, we would definitely want to have committees populating the program of the NCOP, as it were, but I pretty doubt if they would be able to do that. If they do, it would be for compliance. You find that they would submit today, and then the following day they come back to say, but now we've got changes. Realistically speaking, it would be very impossible.
But at least that engagement with the committee activities and the House chairperson and their respective chairpersons should start, because of now they've got this as well to show to their respective chairpersons as to already what is planned on certain day and what is it that they'll be proposing moving forward. Am I right?
Yes, you are correct. From at the end of this meeting, I'm going to be working with Jeremy to clean up that which needs to be cleaned on the program as presented, have that as a framework and submit it to the committees and have that conversation with them. would probably give them the deadline for, say, tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. But between that time and having these moved over to Jeremy, it's another story.
Okay. Thanks. At least that assists, to hear what the office and the committees, they will intend then, to set certain time frame within which the information as well should come forth. Can we then move over, unless if there's any other pending issue on this program? Just say your name.
Advocate, I wanted to say
to be Zama, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say, to be fair to committees, I think there's no pressure in having the committee programs before the WIPS meeting tomorrow. And given the timeframes that we're working on, so we would understand if committees would have the programs finalized in time for the program committee meeting on Thursday. But for the WIPS meeting, I think we also have another meeting this evening to prepare some of the chairpersons. We have a discussion with the chairpersons of committees just to take each other on board in terms of the propositions around the third term program. So we'd understand if committees would take today and tomorrow to finalize the committee programs in time for the NCOP program committee. But for the WIPRI meeting tomorrow, I think there's no pressure.
Chair, this is Jeremy. May I just come in?
Yes, Jeremy.
I think to make a solid proposal as follows: that one, the document that was presented will have to be cleaned up and it will then have to be redistributed. That I undertake to do after this meeting, one. Two, that I propose that myself, Zama, and Mr. Mabaso, together with Advocate Tau and yourself, remain behind when this meeting is concluded, in order for us to just finalize matters related to committee programs and submission thereof. Just so that we just agree on timeframes related to that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I think that's a wonderful proposal. I think that we will then pursue after the meeting. Colleagues, I take it that this matter is now being exhausted. Did you intend to also to present the fourth draft? Or
Advocate Nonyane. Advocate Nonyane.
Yes, who's speaking?
Penny, can you hear me?
Just say your name.
Go to here, Penny.
Yes, Zolan. Do you have any comment?
Yeah, just I'm looking at the two sessions, two question sessions for the deputy president in the third term. I hear clearly that Zama said the one for the 23rd has been moved to the 22nd, which goes to Tuesday, where there was a ministerial briefing on COVID-19. So what time will that sitting start? Because the ministerial briefing is also at 10 o'clock in the morning. And secondly, I don't see any other sessions like the second term. Cluster 2 questions for oral reply, and we are about to finish the year now. We've only dealt with cluster 1. So social services, I have not heard anything in terms of them regarding the third term. And I will discuss other issues with Jeremy outside this meeting, because the deadlines set for both those sessions are incorrect. We need to rectify them. So can I get clarity on the 22nd of September for the DP, and then whether we are intending to invite cluster 2 for the third term? Thank you.
Okay, I think Mr. Mvulane, it was just the clarity of the moving of that 23rd sitting. Can you just assist Mr. Mgodiko on that?
Advocate, I'm just going to go straight to the program that was distributed by Jeremy. There it is. So initially, the questions to the Deputy President were proposed to be here on Wednesday. So now we're saying you can't have questions to the Deputy President on the 23rd of September in the morning when it's cabinet day. That's why if you look at the program that was presented by Jeremy, the question session is now on Tuesday on the 22nd of September at 10 o'clock. There's no ministerial briefing. It's just the questions to the Deputy President. And on the issue of questions, we had a long discussion with the Chief Whip and the Programming Whip. And the view was that let's have question sessions with the social cluster in the fourth term, not in the third term, because of the time is quite very short.
Okay, I think that assists then on the program is clear. The other issues that you raised, Mr. Mkotuga, and the social cluster session move to the fourth term. Can we, colleagues, then move to Mr. Michael? Do you intend to present the fourth term program as well?
I think that we will, there's a number of things that needs to be addressed for the fourth term program as well, Chair, that needs to be looked at. So at this stage, we will keep and we will present that at a later stage. Thank you.
Okay, so the program committee meeting as well will only be looking the last part of the second term and the fourth term, so and the third term, so to say.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much then. Colleagues, can we move then and look at who's next? Is it the committee report or Mr. Beth?
Chair, it's Mark.
Oh, Mark, yes, over to you, Chief.
Thank you. If we can go to slide 3.
Can I just, before you start, ask colleagues to mute their mic? Only Mark's mic should be on because we can hear the echo. Someone is either listening to a radio or talking behind.
The service delivery that they have to deliver. And of course, aligned to the annual performance plans that members have been scrutinizing currently through the public
colleagues.
The select committees.
Or is it you, Mark?
No, it's Mulekwa here. I suggest that the host must mute that person.
There we are, yeah.
Quiet now.
Okay, there you are.
Right.
Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly to indicate in terms of the traditional courts bill that the negotiating mandates meetings have been shifted to the third term. Then on slide 4. Can we go to slide 4?
You can proceed, Mark.
Okay, let me rather open that up on my side as well so I can just speak to it then. What I wanted to mention on slide 4 is that in respect of the bill before the Select Committee on Land Reform, on this slide and on the next slide, those negotiating and final mandates will be considered in the fourth term. Then I'll go to slide number 6. Those two bills there, the committees are scheduling meetings in the third term. So those dates will become more clearer once committees have been issued with the program for the third term. Then we can move to slide 8. There are two bills that deal with disaster management, yet to be referred to the Select Committee on Finance. So the one is a Section 75 bill on slide 8. Today there's a joint meeting with the Standing Committee on Finance, to which the bill is currently referred. Slide 9, I've also just mentioned that one. This is the Section 77 Disaster Management Tax Relief Bill. So both these bills are being spoken to by National Treasury at a joint meeting of the two finance committees. Then we can jump to on slide 15, just to indicate the treaty before the Select Committee on Security and Justice. They're looking to finalize that treaty tomorrow. Also, just to mention something that I missed previously, the Judicial Matters Amendment Bill, it's not yet reflected on the second term program that was presented this morning, but I've been informed that the Select Committee on Security and Justice is looking to finalize that bill on the 29th of July. Then the next reporting slide deals with the National Youth Development Agency. The committee aims to finalize that particular matter on the 5th of August. And then in terms of the Central Drug Authority Board appointments, the committee there is looking to revise its program in the third term. The next matter is on slide 22, before the Select Committee on Land Reform. There, the committee is looking to finalize those regulations in the fourth term. Slide 24, another matter before the Select Committee on Land Reform. Also looking to finalize that matter in the fourth term. Then just on slide 25, before the Select Committee on COCTA, they're dealing with a particular matter there, on which they're having a briefing in the third term. Another matter before the Select Committee on Land Reform, on slide 26, which deals with the Land Bank Board. The committee had a management meeting, well, is having a management meeting either yesterday or today to discuss the way forward on this particular matter. And then on the last reporting slide, there's a report on the provisional suspension of an acting regional magistrate before the Select Committee on Security and Justice, and they're looking to have their briefing in the third term. Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mark. Is it possible to go to, I think, the first slide that you dealt with? Yeah, that one. The Traditional Courts Bill. Yes. To see if this is the only Section 76 legislation that is before committees. Am I right? Colleagues, this is the program in respect of the conferral of mandates. I suspect that colleagues from the liaison office in respect of their provinces, we need to hear now if you will be ready in terms of the conferral of mandates, so that at least that negotiations can take place now and enable committees as well to factor in your preparedness in terms of submission of mandates. Can we hear from colleagues from provinces?
Chair Marek from the Free State, can I speak?
Over to you, Ms. Basson.
Chair, at this stage, we do not have confirmed dates for the outstanding Section 76 bills that are still before the committees. So we need to get the programs from those committees as soon as possible for us to do our planning for the third term as well.
So what you are saying is the first time that you also see this?
Chair, what I'm saying is that the committees have indicated already that they will consider most of the mandates in the third term. We just don't have specific dates yet. So we're waiting for the specific dates. And only when we receive those can we indicate if we will be ready to proceed.
Okay, I think it's well understood. Probably then, Mark, this then needs to be shared with the colleagues from provinces so that at least they can engage their respective provinces in terms of the timelines that have been set for conferral of mandates. Chair. I take it that all the provinces are in the same predicament, or is there any other province that?
Chair,
Chairperson.
Jocelyn, yes, over to you.
We're all having the same issue, but also the provinces have been waiting for our third term program from the NCOP for a very long time. So they could not even schedule their issues or their programs or align their programs with the NCOP third term program. So yes, we all been waiting for this program. Actually, not even this one. This is not even the final one. As soon as the programming meeting adopt the program, we will be sending it through to the provinces, and that will be the first time that they would see the third term program. So all the provinces, especially Gauteng, also has been waiting, and our committees could not schedule anything else because we were waiting for the program.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chairperson. Chair?
Secretary, yes, Secretary, over to you.
Yeah. Yes, I think there was a presentation on the framework of the program. Let us allow committees to come up with their committee programs, and like Mr. Ngulani indicated, it may not be possible by tomorrow, but at least when we have the committee meeting, we should be having the programs of committees. So I think the provincial legislatures will only be able to comment on that once we have finalized the program together with the programs of committees. So I would propose that we leave it there, and we allow committees to come up with the programs.
Okay, Secretary, I think that's clear. We probably might have to move, unless on this program there was anything except there's a... Can we then move to the next agenda item?
Chair, can I make a further proposal?
Secretary,
that please, when coming up with committee programs, take into consideration what is already in the program, so that you don't sit down and deal with matters where there are clashes and this and so on and so on. Please pay specific attention to the times that have already been allocated. We don't want to be sitting down to deal with the times of meetings for committees and this and so on and so on. So please pay special attention to that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Secretary. At least that should be easy for them, taking into account that now they've got the framework to work with. Can we move to the next agenda item? That is the report on bills.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm here. I'll be
Over
brief.
to you, Mr. Bell.
Yeah, I'll be very brief because what I'm saying here won't affect you for a while still. In the previous programming committee meeting, I mentioned that the list of bills that LOGB said were approved by Cabinet had been submitted to the Speaker and sent to the National Assembly's Programming Committee. I've had a look at the list and I've made a summary of it. Suffice to say, for now, on the list there are 6 2020 priority bills. 3 of them are justice bills. 1 is an expropriation bill. 1 deals with electoral laws, and another one is deals with tobacco. As far as I can determine, not one of these bills have been approved by Cabinet for introduction yet. So, you know, the only thing we can do now is to monitor progress as best as we can. What is also important is that at least 11 bills on that program or on that list has a direct or indirect impact on gender-based violence, which is a topic that the National Assembly's Programming Committee takes very seriously, especially after there was comment that Parliament is not dealing with legislation fast enough. And here I think of bills such as domestic violence, sexual offences, firearms control, substance abuse, children, older persons, and social service practitioners. As and when I get more information on this list, I will update the committee, but for the moment, that is all that I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Bell. Colleagues, that's the list on bills that will be before the NCOP. Are there any comments, questions? None. Okay, in the absence of any, I think this was the last agenda item. Unless Mr. Michaels, you can beam the agenda again then. This was the last agenda item. Can I get a mover for the closure of the meeting?
We move.
Yeah, thank you very much, colleagues. This brings us to the end of our technical committee meeting. And there has been a request that Mr. Mvulane, Mr. Michaels, and Mr. Mabaso and Advocate Tao from committees remain behind just to sort out certain logistical issues moving forward. Thank you very much, colleagues. The meeting stands adjourned. Yeah, maybe to make things quicker, who's hosting? You can move them to what do you call them? Low